Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 19 sets up another tragedy for Violet that can rival Hawkins' death. Violet McCamey, Hanako Greensmith, has already faced tragedy in Chicago Fire. After finding love and a way to be with Chief Evan Hawkins, Jimmy Nicholas, they were ripped apart after Hawkins was killed in the line of duty. It took a long time for Violet to deal with that grief, leading to her being scared to really commit to her relationship with Sam Carver, Jake Lockett, when they started to have fun, leading him to leaving town temporarily ahead of Chicago Fire Season 13. Now that Violet has seen what she's been missing, she's decided to give her relationship with Carver another shot. However, things haven't worked out, with Carver moving on and now dealing with his alcoholism. Yet the two are continually pulled back together, but this is sure to end in heartbreak for Violet. After all, Lockett is leaving the One Chicago franchise, so this build-up to a relationship is going to be wasted. During Chicago Fire Season 13, Episode 19, Violet was on a mission to figure out who the mysterious medic was treating patients. Carver went on the mission with her, leading to them being threatened with a gun as they knocked on an apartment door. Despite getting answers and knowing that Violet could handle situations on her own, Carver continued to stand by her and help her out. The two of them are being pulled together in Chicago Fire Season 13. While they went on their mission, Violet opened up about how she wanted to call Carver while he took some time off to get his drinking under control, and she even told him that she wrote him a letter. By the end of the episode, there was hope that the two could find their way back to each other, although Carver did turn down a coffee date in favor of an AA meeting. For now, the two remain friends, but there would be hope of them rekindling their romance if Lockett was sticking around for Chicago Fire Season 14. They are happy to support each other in their various ventures, and it's clear that they still have feelings for each other, so they could have become Chicago Fire's next great romance, despite Violet being with someone else right now. There is just one problem with the entire arc in Chicago Fire Season 13 right now. Lockett is leaving Chicago Fire before Season 14, so everything that is happening right now is for nothing. There is no payoff to the buildup of this relationship because Lockett won't be part of the series. For many, the big question is how Carver will end up being written out of the show, as this series could do it one of two ways. One option is for Carver to walk away, and he could back to Texas to get support from his family and friends there due to his drinking problem. Another way to write him out by walking away is for his drinking to become a safety issue and him being fired. Either way, it means that Carver is alive but is turning his back on Violet and their budding relationship. The second option would be a way to rival the heartbreak Violet has already faced with Hawkins. Carver could end up dying in the line of duty. Series regulars have been written out through traumatic Chicago Fire deaths before, such as with Shay, Lauren German, and Otis, Yuri Sardarov. Hawkins was the most recent tragic death, and it's been some years since Firehouse 51 officially lost someone in the line of duty. For Violet to lose two loves in this way would be devastating for us to watch, but it stops us from getting angry at Carver for just leaving. While Chicago Fire Season 14 hasn't officially been renewed yet, negotiations are happening, and the show continues to be one of the highest-rated NBC shows in the linear ratings, so it appears a given that Season 14 will happen. One of the biggest issues is the cost of production, and when Deadline reported that Lockett would be leaving the series, financial reasons were noted. For many seasons now, the entire Dick Wolf universe has seen various members of their shows cut out of episodes here and there. This allows the cast budget to remain manageable, but it requires negotiations every time new contracts come up. Another way to cut the cast budget is to completely remove an actor and not replace them, which Deadline thinks could be happening with Chicago Fire and may happen with other One Chicago shows. It is certainly disappointing for us, especially as we see potential storylines form. However, the cost of producing TV is going up, and the linear viewership is going down, leading to less advertisement revenue to help. Production studios need to find other ways to save money, and for Chicago Fire, it means cutting some of the ensemble cast. Violet McCamey has endured more than her fair share of heartbreak throughout her time at Firehouse 51. But Season 13, Episode 19 of Chicago Fire, hints that the pain she experienced with the death of Evan Hawkins may not be the worst she'll ever feel. As the episode unfolds, subtle foreshadowing and emotionally charged moments suggest that the show is steering Violet toward another tragedy, one that could rival or even eclipse the devastation she faced with Hawkins' sudden and heroic death. A familiar pattern. The episode begins with Violet returning from a call with Carver, and there's an immediate shift in her demeanor. She's quiet, contemplative, her usual spark dimmed. A visit to a child's burn victim triggers memories of Hawkins, of how he'd gently interact with patients, and how his optimism never waned, even in the darkest moments. She doesn't say his name, but her eyes do. Later, Brett notices her friend's withdrawn energy. When she asks if Violet's okay, Violet shrugs it off. Just one of those days, she says with a forced smile. But longtime fans know that Violet's instincts have always been razor-sharp, and what she's feeling might not just be grief resurfacing, but a subconscious warning of what's to come. Enter the new risk, Jack Damon. Episode 19 introduces a new recurring character, Lieutenant Jack Damon, a tactical paramedic brought in to consult with 51 on a series of high-risk rescue scenarios involving unstable infrastructure. Damon is brilliant, charismatic, and intense in a way that draws Violet's curiosity, something Carver clearly notices. The episode wastes no time hinting at romantic tension between Violet and Damon, but it doesn't come across as forced. Instead, it builds in layered beats, mutual respect on the job, quiet moments in the ambulance bay, and finally a post-shift conversation that lingers just a little too long. The last time Chicago Fire introduced a man who challenged Violet's usual emotional barriers, it was Evan Hawkins, and we all remember how that ended. A mission with too much at stake. The episode's centerpiece is a multi-alarm warehouse fire, with Damon leading a specialized search and rescue inside a partially collapsed structure. Violet and Carver are outside on standby, awaiting medical calls, when Violet hears over the comms that Damon has lost contact with the second squad. Her face falls. It's Hawkins all over again. Against protocol, but with Stella's reluctant approval, Violet grabs her gear and heads into the building to assist. She finds Damon pinned beneath debris, conscious but struggling to breathe. There's a heart-stopping moment when he looks up at her and says, "You shouldn't be here." Her voice cracks as she replies, "Neither should you." Carver and Gallo rush in moments later, helping Violet extract Damon. The rescue is successful, but it's too close for comfort. Violet watches Damon being loaded into the ambulance, bloodied but stable, and yet something in her breaks. She storms off behind the fire truck and sobs quietly, her back against the steel. It's clear she's not just crying for Damon, but for the cruel possibility that she could lose someone again. A storm brewing. In a haunting final montage, we see Violet lying in bed that night, scrolling through old photos of Hawkins on her phone. She stops at one where he's smiling wide, the wind tossing his hair, completely alive. Then she gets a text from Damon. "Thanks for pulling me out. Let's talk soon." She doesn't reply. The music swells, a soft, melancholy piano piece, as the camera cuts to Damon's hospital room. He's awake but clearly in pain. A nurse walks in to check his vitals, and the angle shifts to show a shadow on his CT scan that wasn't discussed before. Something's wrong, and we can feel it in our bones. History repeating. This wouldn't be the first time Chicago Fire set up an emotional gut punch like this. The writers have a talent for building up hope, only to crush it when viewers least expect it. What makes this particular setup even more devastating is that Violet knows better now. She knows how precious and fragile life is. She knows not to let her guard down, but the heart doesn't always follow logic. If Damon's condition worsens, or if he's hiding something, perhaps a prior condition, or a reckless habit born out of trauma, then Violet might be headed toward another emotional freefall. What's worse is that this one won't be sudden like Hawkins' death. It will unravel slowly, she'll see it coming, and she'll be powerless to stop it. And that might make it hurt even more.